Good Friday, everyone. This is Pastor Danny McKee. It is so good to see you. I'm so glad you tuned in. We are going to pick up in part 2 of our series, The Secret to a Foolproof Life. It's not much of a secret. It is the Book of Proverbs. We need to read the Book of Proverbs. My encouragement to you is during this series that you would open up the Book of Proverbs and begin to read it. I want to talk to you about thinking before you speak. I'm going to talk to you tonight about the power of your words. But before I get into that, I want to define a couple of personalities that you find in the Book of Proverbs, and then I want to show you kind of a model of compare and contrast to kind of help you frame up an understanding as you read the Book of Proverbs. I think it will help you out in your life. And then I want to talk to you about the power of your words. And so let me define a couple people in the Book of Proverbs. There's basically 4 personalities in the Book of Proverbs. You have the wise, you have the simple, the fool, and the mocker. We all want to be wise. Do you want to be wise? You want to be wise? I want to be wise. You wouldn't be watching this if you didn't want to be wise. And so let me explain to you what a wise person is. It's being skilled in godly living. Having God's wisdom means having the ability to cope with life in a God-honoring way. And so a wise person is skilled in godly living. Then the Book of Proverbs talks about a simple person. A simple person refers to a person who is naive and untaught. They're just unskilled. They just need a little bit of understanding. And so the Book of Proverbs talks about a fool. Now listen to a fool. It refers to a person who is dull, closed-minded, thick-headed, stubborn, lazy, arrogant, and flippant, known for rejecting information from others and lacks spiritual perception. I don't know about you, but I've acted like a fool a few times in my life. And then in the Book of Proverbs, it explains a person called a mocker, and also says scoffer, which means it's someone who jeers or mocks or treats something with contempt or calls out in ridicule. So we have these 4 types of people talked about in the Book of Proverbs: wise, simple, fool, and mocker. And we are all looking to be wise people of God. So as you read the Book of Proverbs, I want you to pay attention to those things. The next thing I want to show you is a compare-contrast model. It'll be on your screen in just a moment. Now, I love compare-contrast because it kind of gives me an understanding of the behaviors associated with a certain topic. In this particular model, it's a compare-contrast of the positive and negative words in the Book of Proverbs. And so if you can look at these words, you can see the opposite side of that word. For instance, wisdom and wise, that's positive, right? And the opposite would be fool and folly. You have life, positive. You have death, not so positive. You have self-control. Then you have anger. You have obedience and rebellion. You have humility, and then you have pride. You have love and peace. You have strife and jealousy. You have trust. You have shame and worry. I want you to pay attention to the power of those words. When I started talking about the positive words like life and self-control and obedience and humility and love and peace and trust, what did that do in your heart? It brings life. It brings positivity into your life. And when I talked about the negative, the fool and the folly and the death and the anger and the rebellion and the pride and the strife and jealousy, shame and worry, what did that do? It brought a sense of doom and that's bad and death. And so our words have power. Our words are very, very powerful. And so the Book of Proverbs does a brilliant job of having this compare and contrast. So we can read a proverb and it will give us the positive action if we go this way, and it will show you the negative results if we go in a negative direction. And I think that is one of the most important things that we can draw out of the Book of Proverbs, is because it just gives us a clear path to follow and to be wise in our lives. So there's some terms, there's a compare-contrast model. Now listen to me, all these things that I'm talking about are in your notes. If you'll just go up there and hit that that button up there. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but it's up there on the top of your screen. All the notes for this is in the bottom. So sometimes people are like, you're going too fast. Well, I'm going fast so that we can get this in a reasonable amount of time, but all those notes are down there, and so you can follow along as we move on. All right? So now I want to talk to you about the power of your words. Have you ever heard this statement, sticks and stones won't break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Now, if that is the most ridiculous statement on all of humanity, it is that statement. Is that a true or a false statement? It is false. Of course our words hurt people, and so let's look at the book of Proverbs, and I have picked out, I stopped at like 10 or so Proverbs that I'm going to read out loud, and then I want you to kind of listen, and then I'll make some points at the end about the power of our words. Now, Proverbs 15:1 says this, listen to me. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:4, the soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit. Are you noticing the life, the positive, and then the negative? Proverbs 16:24, gracious words are like honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. Proverbs 10:19, this is my favorite one. I love this one. Too much talking leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. Proverbs 12:14 says this, wise words bring many benefits. Proverbs 12:18, the words of a reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Proverbs 13:3, to the one who guards his mouth preserves his life. To the one who opens wide, his lips come to ruin. Proverbs 15:28, the heart of the godly thinks carefully before speaking. Proverbs 17:27, he who refrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Proverbs 18:21, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat of its fruit. Let me finish with this one. Proverbs 29:20. Do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There is more hope for a fool than for him. Now listen, I looked up scriptures that had to deal with the power of words in Proverbs, and there was a whole bunch of them. Like, I stopped right there. Your words have power. Your words have the power of life and death. So let me tell you the importance of your word. Let me give you 5 things that are in direct response to how you speak and what you say. Number 1 is this: the right words move mountains. If you say the right words, things will happen in your life dramatically. You can speak to the mountain and it will fall to the ground. Your words have life. So the right words matter, and the right words are powerful. Number 2, the wrong words bring death. You can speak death into people's lives. You can tear people down. And we have all been the recipients of negative, toxic words in our lives. And some of us are living out of that identity. And so I want to encourage you and encourage me that from this point forward, we are going to be people that are going to speak words that bring life, not death. Number 3 that I get out of these few Proverbs is this: quiet, please. Like, sometimes we just need to be quiet. Not everybody needs to hear your opinion. Not everybody needs to hear my opinion. We live in a society where we have freedom of speech, but don't allow the freedom that we have to speak so that we can speak death into this world. No, we need to be quiet sometimes. Not everybody needs to hear your opinion. Not everybody needs to hear my opinion on a matter. And in the book of Proverbs, it points to sometimes you just need to be quiet. It is all right to be quiet. Number 4, say this, not that. say this, not that. This is the comparison contrast model. Let me speak to those teachers that are listening to this. We need to teach people the right words to speak. You need to teach your children the right words to speak. You shouldn't say that, and give them the reason why. This is negative. This is positive. And sometimes we need to correct people's, conduct and their vocabulary, the words they choose to use. Don't say this, but say that. Let's teach people through the Word of God what brings life and what shouldn't be said, what should be said and what shouldn't be said. We should be very careful about the words that we speak. And number 5, start speaking life today. Many times I think we spend a lot of time complaining about our society. We complain about our culture. It's negative, it's negative, negative. Change starts here, right? Change starts with you. Change starts with me. We draw the circle around ourselves, and I'll say, well, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend my life speaking life. I'm going to spend my life being kind and gentle and meek. I'm not always going to share my opinion. So I'm going to draw the circle around me, and the people that I influence and the people that I lead, I'm going to lead them in that direction. We don't talk like that. We speak life, not death. We're positive. We're encouraging. We're gentle. We're humble. We're meek. This is where we are going to go. And if you'll do that and I will do that, then things will begin to change. Change starts with you. Change starts with me, and change starts today. Now, some of you are like, well, look, I'm just a negative person. Well, you don't have to be, because if you're a follower of Jesus, you have self-control, and you can change the way you think. You can change the way you talk. And I say that change happens today. So let's start speaking life today. Speak life on Facebook. Speak life on Instagram. Speak life to your family. Speak life to your friends. Let's be careful what we say, and make sure that we think and then we speak from a place of positivity. And we can find a lot of those things out of the book of Proverbs. So let's finish up with some reflection questions tonight. First one is this: share a real life situation when you acted wise, simple, fool, or a mocker. What was the results? What did you learn from that? Number 2, discuss the compare and contrast model. What stood out to you? Which side of the model, positive or negative, describes you? Number 3, share a time when someone encouraged you verbally and how it affected you. Share a time when somebody was positive, that said something that brought life into your circumstances. How did that make you feel? What did you do in the result of that? Number 4, on a scale of 1 to 10, how life-giving are your words? Maybe 1, you need to work on it a lot. Maybe 10, you're positive. Well, on a scale, where do you land in that? Number 5, finally, what are you going to do differently tomorrow in response to this teaching? What are you going to do differently tomorrow in response to this teaching? Look, it's so great to see you. I look forward to talking to you next week. God bless you. Have a great week. Peace out.